Once upon a time, in the sleepy little village of Amloki, there lived a boy named Gopi. Gopi was full of dreams, but talent, alas, had forgotten him at birth. He wanted nothing more than to be a great singer and earn the admiration of his fellow villagers. Unfortunately, his voice sounded like a frog trying to yodel through a mouthful of marbles. Gopi would sit under trees and practice his songs from dawn till dusk. The cows stopped giving milk, the birds flew away, and the villagers, driven to madness, finally complained to the village headman. One morning, Gopi was summoned to the village square. "Gopi," the headman said sternly, "we appreciate your enthusiasm, but your singing has become a public menace. From today, you are banished from Amloki." Gopi's heart sank, but he packed his meager belongings, slung his little ektara over his shoulder, and walked into the unknown. As fate would have it, in a village not far away, Hirakpur, there lived another curious soul named Bagha. Bagha was a drummer, but like Gopi, he lacked talent and rhythm. His drumming sounded like boulders tumbling down a cliff, which terrified everyone. He, too, was banished. One evening, Gopi, tired and hungry, came to a forest clearing and sat down. Just then, from the other end of the clearing came the sound of thunder, except it wasn't thunder. It was Bagha, beating his drum with wild abandon. Startled, Gopi jumped up. Bagha froze, thinking he'd just encountered a ghost, but after some shouting, some apologizing, and some shared food, the two quickly became friends. They realized they had much in common: dreams of music, no talent, and no home. That night, they slept under a giant banyan tree. As the moon rose and the wind whispered through the leaves, an eerie silence settled. Suddenly, the air shimmered, and a group of ghosts appeared, translucent, tall, and glowing faintly. They circled the two friends. "Who dares disturb our slumber?" boomed the Ghost King. Trembling, Gopi and Bagha explained their misfortunes and dreams. They even performed a song and drum solo. It was terrible. But the ghosts were so amused they laughed themselves hoarse. "You two are ridiculous," the Ghost King chuckled. "But you have heart, so we grant you 3 boons." Gopi and Bagha bowed low. "First," the Ghost King said, "you shall always be able to sing and play beautifully, so enchanting that all who hear you will be entranced." Gopi and Bagha grinned like children on a sugar rush. "Second, you shall receive food and clothes wherever you desire, just clap your hands." "Third, you shall be able to travel anywhere instantly, just click your fingers together." With that, the ghosts vanished, leaving behind a faint smell of incense and a burst of confidence. The next morning, Gopi sang. Birds came down to perch, Bagha played, trees danced, the world had changed. Excited, they decided to go to the royal court of Shundi and seek favor as court musicians. As they clapped their hands, fresh food and royal garb appeared. With a click of their fingers, they appeared at the gates of Shundi. The guards were skeptical, but a quick performance had the guards swaying. Soon, Gopi and Bagha were performing for the king himself. The king of Shundi was overjoyed. "You shall be royal musicians," he declared. They had runes, riches, and respect. But their happiness was short-lived. A neighboring kingdom, Hala, led by a cruel and war-hungry king, had declared war on Shundi. Spies reported that Hala had already begun marching. Gopi and Bagha were distressed. Though not warriors, they wished to save their new home, so they devised a plan. Disguised as wandering monks, they clicked their fingers and arrived in Hala. There, they discovered the king had been given a strange potion by an evil minister, one that made him mad with thoughts of power and conquest. The soldiers were terrified of him and dared not disobey. Gopi and Bagha decided to act. On the night before the invasion, they sneaked into the king's tent. They performed the most enchanting melody ever heard, a song so hauntingly beautiful that the entire camp fell into a trance. The soldiers slept, the horses dozed, even the war drums fell silent. As the king awoke, startled, Gopi and Bagha clapped their hands. Instantly, pots of delicious sweets and steaming food appeared all around. The king, already half mad, began eating, and as he did, the enchantment lifted just enough for reason to seep in. Bagha took the opportunity to start a rhythm, a calming, peaceful rhythm, and Gopi sang of peace, harmony, and the foolishness of war. Something shifted in the king's mind. He dropped his sword. He looked around at his soldiers sleeping, at the stars overhead, and at the peaceful strangers in front of him. "What am I doing?" he whispered. The evil minister tried to intervene, but Gopi played a note so sharp it knocked the man to the ground. The spell was broken. The next day, the king of Hala rode to Shundi not with an army, but with flowers and apologies. A grand feast followed. Gopi and Bagha were hailed as heroes. They were offered riches, land, and titles, but they declined. "We are simple musicians," Gopi said. "With a hunger for songs, not thrones," Bagha added. And so, the two friends continued their adventures. They traveled far and wide, singing, playing, and spreading joy. Wherever they went, hunger vanished, wars dissolved, and laughter followed. They were not perfect, but their music made the world a little brighter. And that, perhaps, was their greatest song of all. The end.